You're listening to the Amazon Gorillas Cast, navigating you through the seller's jungle. Flying high over the jungle canopy on a borrowed Amazon drone, dropping bananas like bombs in the Amazon jungle. So here's the big banana of the jungle, Rob Fortney. Welcome to the jungle, gorillas.
Welcome to the Gorillas training videos. Go ahead and grab a piece of paper so you can jot down some notes. While you do, let me quickly tell you who the Gorillas are. The Gorillas are a group of Amazon business owners that share knowledge, support, and resources with each other. We've been meeting weekly online, helping each other launch products for more than 18 months. It's an incredible way for everyone to get answers to the problems they have and learn from each other. This Gorillas training is from one of those meetings. From time to time, we allow people that are happy and excited and certainly have to be motivated to start their business to join our group. There's no experience level required, which makes it a great opportunity for new sellers. If you're serious about starting your business or growing your business, you may be a great fit. Click the link below and tell us a little bit about yourself. I'll send you an invite so we can meet up and talk about your business goals and search for a product together. Let's get this training going today. I think you're going to find the information in this Gorillas workshop interesting and valuable.
Our very special guest is Mr. CJ Rosenbaum. How are you, sir? So can you tell us a little bit about your company and actually, what you do as a lawyer?
Sure. Well, I'm an attorney here in New York. My job is to get sellers back into business and to protect their business. I'm not an Amazon lawyer, I'm a seller's lawyer. So that's what we focus on, getting you back on as quickly as possible. And when you're getting hijacked, get the hijackers off as quickly as possible.
All right, so if I'm a new seller, give me the top 3 points that I can do to start out to avoid legal problems from the gate. And maybe in all senses. I'm just starting my business. Okay, day one, I'm picking my product today. What are the top 3 things that CJ would tell me, hey, these are the 3 things you need to make sure you do from day one?
Well, I got to tell you, there's an old Cajun saying that it's better to ride the horse in the direction that it's going, okay? So where's Amazon going right now? They're focusing on customers, as always, and brands. So if you're just jumping into the game now, start creating your own brand from day one, okay? Protect that brand and plan to knock hijackers off, okay? And that's how I would tell someone starting right now how to do it. The opposite side of that, like if you really are a newbie and you don't have a ton of money behind you, I think a good way of getting your feet wet and learning your way around the dashboard, okay, and a lot of people disagree with me, is to start off in like retail arbitrage as you're developing your brand. Go to the discount racks in the Northeast where it's cold and snowing and no one's buying those tennis outfits, and sell them on Amazon. One of those scanning devices to sort of just learn the dashboard, but don't make it your whole career. Your long-term plan should be developing a brand, selling the brand, and protecting the brand, because that's the direction of the future as of right now.
Are you handling are you handling sales at all? Are you doing any work? Because I know I have sellers out there who are not, we're selling, we're now selling our businesses. I actually sold one this week, but so are you handling those type of sales and stuff?
You may not want to say that so loud.
Yes.
It's against your terms of service, but yes, okay? And we do buy and sells for businesses. It is against Amazon's policy, just like multiple accounts, and I got a lot to say about multiple accounts also. If you're doing that, there are a lot of weird legal issues when you're buying and selling an Amazon business. In just about every business transaction, when you're selling one business to another, you would never want to buy the corporation because the corporation may have liabilities, taxes they didn't pay, products they sold that may hurt somebody down the road, God knows what, okay? Old leases or whatever. So normally you would never want to buy a corporation. You just want to buy the assets, which is the ongoing business and the goodwill. When it comes to an Amazon business, if you get Amazon's permission to buy and sell, right, that account, you're going to lose all your rankings. You're going to lose all your reviews, everything that was built up. So you're really not buying much at all. So you may want to buy the whole corporation, maintain the same bank account so that Amazon has no idea that the business was sold. Okay, and that's what we've done. But that's also, you got to be very careful. A lot of due diligence to make sure you're not buying something with problems. Also, in any significant business, there's usually seller financing or a promissory note that the seller is holding back. And you want to make sure that your contract has certain provisions that if your account gets suspended 2 weeks after you purchase it, the price changes. Okay? You're doing $1 million a month, right? But you're suspended in 2 weeks after you buy it, right? You want that note to be effective, or at least the payments to be delayed, because you're buying something now that has very little value once the account goes down. So specific to Amazon businesses buying and selling, again, you don't have to use me, but you have to use a lawyer who understands Amazon, or else they'll have no idea to put these contingencies in your contract for suspensions, for bans, if you lose your biggest ASINs, okay? So you really, if you're gonna do this, you gotta use someone who knows something about Amazon, drafting that contract, which will then provide for contingencies on what can happen in the Amazon world.
And so over here where I'm at, certainly in we call this digital nomad place where all of my guys right now are building Amazon businesses to sell because the money is really stupid in reality. I just had a buddy who sold a business that he owned for 12 months. Started out with about, I think, less than $10,000, and a year later, he sold it for $250,000 because these investment companies are paying 25 times your monthly earnings. So, put that in your puzzle as you're developing your business. That this business model is so great that if you're even marginally successful at it, it can be sold in a short term. I know somebody who got about 18 times earnings on 9 months because it was so impressive what he had done. He had created a great brand, he had created stuff, and he was able to turn his money quickly. And I that is my plan currently, is to create brands and stuff, create brands and stuff. I want to be a brand creator. I don't want to be someone who maintains account. That just happens to be the way in which I look at the market differently than other people. Now, we'll talk about that later. I got another question for you that I'll ask you that'll confuse that whole issue that I won't right now. But I'll tell you how brands are being sold on our end from over here. It may be different than how they're doing it there. So that'll be interesting. I'll tell you here after we get done.
I tell you, what you hit upon is a great idea. If your plan is to build it and then flip it, in a year, 18 months down the road, you want to make sure you're keeping really great corporate records so that when someone is buying that entity, you can show them there's no potential liabilities. Because as the lawyer representing a buyer, that's my biggest concern. They're not going to buy a problem. So if that's your game plan, instead of having your annual meeting, you really want to have a lot of corporate minutes and really document very, very well, not created any potential liabilities for that next buyer. Because they're going to want to buy that entity, maintain that account. Got it, especially if you're dealing with the UK accounts, there's this whole verification process. You got to be really careful. You can deliver a nice, clean package to sell when you sell your brand and you sell your Amazon account.
So, and this is going to sound kind of, it's like asking this question at the end of all this. But CJ, tell me your definition, because I think the definition varies a lot from a lot of different people. But give me your definition of what a brand is. Because I have some specific ideas. And just as a simple thing for me, and take it outside of logos and things like that, but I want you to give me your definition. But to me, when I explain to people what a brand is, to me, a brand is really your reputation more than anything, that I'm going to serve you a good product because based upon some other prior information that I've done business for a long time or whatever it is, it becomes a reputation. Now, in your sense, in the legal sense, that's going to be different. So tell me what your definition of what a brand is.
I guess my definition would be an expectation, where some brands are high quality, some are low quality, some are in between. I think what a brand gives a customer is that they know what to expect in terms of product quality, service, follow-up. Like I'll give you an example. Land's End, it's been around forever. That brand to me means you can return that product 20, 30 years later and they're going to give you a new one, right? It's not the most stylish clothing in the world, but I know if I buy a pair of boots from Land's End and I don't like them 10 years from now, I can return it. So I think a brand provides expectations. Okay, same thing to McDonald's hamburger. It ain't filet mignon, but what it's got. I had a Big Mac in Shenzhen. tasted exactly the same as here in New York. I don't know how.
I understand that.
Exactly the same.
Yes.
So I think brands are expectations. That, to me,
Right.
that's what it is.
But now the question is, and that's exactly what I was saying, it's your reputation. You're going to supply some level of something. Now, but the question is you're not calling, when you go register your brand with Amazon, I'm not registering my reputation. So what's the difference in that? You're saying, okay, I'm going to be in the brand registry, protect my brand. I'm violating someone's brand. I appreciate that, but I'm not. Okay, let's just say I'm selling the exact same product, but what am I doing when I register my brand at Amazon?
Well, I think what you're doing is you're just taking the first step. Brand registry, and then the next step up is brand gating, are good steps. But you're right, that doesn't necessarily give you any protection or a customer any expectation. Those, I think, are just the preliminary steps in the building of your brand and the protection of your brand. Now, if you really think it through, right, now let's take brand registry as the initial step, but really what people want are brand gating, so they can hopefully stop other sellers. Is just telling Amazon, you can decide who hijacks my listing, right? That's all it is. Because they're not saying you're the only person that can sell. They're not saying you get to approve who sells. Brand gating says you're going to give Amazon the decision making as to who to sell your product. And I get it. You know who the most feared hijacker of all is? The nuclear of hijackers? Freaking Amazon, okay?
Right.
Because we don't say they do, but I don't know, my experience is they get the buy box a lot, right? So in addition to protecting yourself from all these other people who can buy at the same factories in Vietnam and India and China, right? You need to protect yourself from Amazon, because you need to create the ability that I can knock Amazon off your listing, right? Because they're the greatest hijacker of all.
But saying that, now, I want to say this, and I think you understand, is that Amazon is too big of a company. Like, people think that they're setting out into some magic room in the back. Listen, Amazon is too big of a company for them to actually be trying to figure out how to take your money. It doesn't make sense, because in the business model, they make 40% of their money from guys like us. So they don't set out to do that. That happens under some course of action. It's not intentional. Amazon doesn't wake up and try to figure out how he can go get sellers. Jeff Bezos does not have meetings and says, okay, Rob's selling a garlic press. We want his business. Like, their brand would be immensely ruined. And what I tell people, here's how you know. In a company that big, somebody got fired today, and they're pissed. And they would come out of that meeting, out the front door, on their way to the unemployment line, and out front they'd have a big thing full of documents going, you know what, Jeff Bezos, I was in the meeting. Matter of fact, I recorded him. He said he was taking all the third-party sellers going to sell. I mean, somebody would be telling people about these meetings and these clandestine things that are going on inside Amazon. So I'm not one of those people that believes there's some huge conspiracy going on inside of Amazon to take our products, because you hear that. You look at these forums, Amazon's coming to get, they're not coming to get you on purpose. They may be so big that they step on you by accident, but I don't think there's real intent by that.
I agree. That also, this whole thing about, Jeff, like the Bezos escalation, dear Jeff, okay? Listen, the guy is building his own space program, okay?
Right.
He's not worried about the mugs. He doesn't give a damn about selling mugs. The guy's building his own spaceships, okay?
Right.
But I think you're right. But I also think there are people within the company, and their job is to look at what they should get into, okay? And those are the people who are stepping on you, here and there. But I also don't believe in the big giant conspiracy theory that they're out, to steal every single product. Because they do. When you look at how much money they make more money from us, right, than they do from their own direct sales. But that also shifts as the year goes on and off. We call it the holiday purge, starting September, October.
I want you to say that one more time. Because, I say that, but I want you to say, where's Amazon making the most money from?
Amazon's making the most money from third-party sellers. On the return on investment, the percentages, we make them a boatload of money. We fill their warehouses with our stuff. We pay them for the pleasure. We pay them to sell our stuff. And they're making boatloads of money without having to figure out what is good or bad products to sell. So my impression is I agree with you. They're making most of their money from us. They don't treat us that way, but they do. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm looking at, you're a bit frozen. I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, CJ, I can hear you. I think we might have lost Rob. I'm not sure.
All right.
I've got a question, sort of moving on a little bit. Yeah. So we're in good company between ourselves. Product reliability. Now, it sort of my mind springs back to the hoverboard, and I watched it on the news over here in the Philippines, where I think I saw it on the internet, where an Amazon seller sold a product where it caused the house to burn down because it was a faulty product. Now, how do I stand, or how does sort of the general seller stand when it comes to protecting themselves against issues like that?
Okay, the first thing every seller should be doing, and it's cheap and it's easy and you don't need a lawyer, is to create a corporation. Okay, you go online. I use a company in New York called Blumberg. You go to blumberg.com. It's like $230, and you can create a corporation that creates a shield between your personal assets and any damage you may cause to the business. It was developed in the Industrial Revolution, and every seller should have a corporation. Okay, and you could do it by yourself. You don't need to hire a lawyer. Go online for a couple of $100 in every single state. You can create a corporation to protect yourself. The issue of product liability insurance or product liability coverage comes up from time to time, and it's usually pretty expensive. But listen, as a lawyer, if someone says, should I have insurance? I got to say yes, right? If I say no and they get sued, all of a sudden I'm the next defendant in line, right? So should you have insurance? Absolutely. But if it's cost prohibitive, maybe you don't. But every single seller should create a corporation. It's cheap, it's fast, it's easy. Nowadays, you can call Monday morning, right? You can do it online. By the end of Monday business, you will have your corporation. They can get you your tax ID number from the IRS, and now you do business under that entity. That creates a pretty good shield. One of the things you might want to use a lawyer for is to make sure you maintain that shield, but just having it is very, very helpful to protect your assets. It doesn't create any significant costs in terms of taxes and that kind of thing, because if you're a small business, you do something called you elect sub S status, which is just a tax ramification where all the income from the corporation goes on your personal return. The only extra ongoing cost really is you have to file a tax return for that corporation, but most of them are pretty simple. But the basic thing is get online, get on the phone, create a corporation, spend the extra $250 to give you that shield in case something should go wrong later.
From my point of view, I guess I would be looking at from a product to product point of view. If I'm selling garlic presses, I would say that the risk of my garlic press injuring somebody would be pretty minimal. So therefore, I'm going to skip the corporation step. Whereas if I'm selling a mixing machine for the kitchen, that may be a different ballgame. Would you agree with that, or something along those lines?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Every product has a different level of risk. But I don't know if any of your listeners have been to the SCO meetings. There's SCO in Philly and SCO in Seattle. One's in the summer and one's around usually March or so. And I was out there, and the question of selling toys with lead paint came up. Okay. Yeah. And one person said, well, if I'm just buying it from here and selling it there, I'm not going to get sued anyway. And that's where my skill as a trial lawyer for 20 years comes in. I said, no, you're involved. If you touch that product, you're going to get sued, right? So let's say your garlic press, right, has some lead paint on it, right? It still has some risk. It might be minimal, but you still want that corporation for the extra $250. You have a significant layer of protection against any claim actually reaching out and touching your personal assets. Okay, so whether it's a small risk or a substantial risk, the cost is so low to have that corporate shield that I recommend everybody do it. It really costs practically nothing, and it pays for itself with just the peace of mind. And you have the same corporation as time goes on.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's good. Robbie, got anything else?
I think it's just me and you.
I thought he came back for a second. He's gone.
Yeah,
again.
I did. I saw it on screen.
Yeah. Now, CJ, I've been dealing with sort of the Chinese for the past 20 years. So I lived in Shanghai for 5 and all the rest of it. So I know China inside out a little bit. But a lot of the products that I've been sourcing over the past 20 years have been specifically for the business that I've been working for, and probably over the last 5 years from an Amazon point of view. Now, I've always looked at the IP, going back to one of your sort of points earlier, the IP that you register here in general, it's in the United States. That doesn't mean that is protected in China. I just want to reiterate that. That's correct, right?
That is correct. It does not do anything for you, particularly in China. China is one of the countries that you have to file there. I was just in Hong Kong for a meeting of IP professionals just last week. If you haven't been to China, I recommend you go. It's a beautiful country. It's great people to meet, really, really cool things to see. But if that's where you're having your products made, then I would suggest you file. I like WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, that once you get your trademark, in the States, you file through WIPO and you take it to China. Particularly with China, you may want to make sure you have a Chinese lawyer, and I can refer you to a couple of people look at it to make sure you get in the right categories, because their system is a bit different. But yeah, I'd say you file China, Vietnam, and India right off the bat. The cost, again, is real minimal. And then you get the protection there where you can enforce the rights there. So that's I highly recommend.
Yeah, I agree. That's always where I've come from in the past. I got a question from one of our viewers and listeners the other day with respect to, they got an email through, it was direct from Amazon, saying that authenticity, your product is not authentic. How does that differ from IP or anything, or is that same thing but different language?
Generally, Amazon has butchered the English language a bit. Now, when they say it's inauthentic, what they're really asking for is where you bought the products from, where it can be traced back to the manufacturer. They take authentic or inauthentic, and it's not the same as being counterfeit. Counterfeit is fake. Inauthentic is they want to see where you purchased it from and how it could get traced back to the manufacturer. In the inauthentic complaints, they just want to see your invoices and your receipts. There are certain receipts and invoices that we know they don't find acceptable. That's all they're looking for, to see that you bought it from a reputable distributor.
Okay. Another one of the questions that we had probably a couple of weeks ago, there was someone looking to just get into the game and dive into the deep end, and they found a product that Rob and I had a look at, and we think there's a patent on this. However, there are multiple sellers already selling that particular product on there. So our advice was, if in doubt, steer clear. What he does is obviously down to him, but that was our clear advice. But how would that be possible if there's a clear patent? I found a patent on this just by doing the Google patent search, but other sellers are selling that. What's the game now, and what's the risks for them?
Well, a patent is a license to sell a certain product for a certain period of time, but the patent holder has to enforce that. So they may just be asleep at the wheel, or may not be worth their time or money to go to enforce it. And I would generally say steer clear of it also. But on the other hand, if you decide you want to do it, just don't dive in too deep. Don't put all your eggs in a basket that already has some cracks in it. So if other people are selling it, you may want to jump in, but I certainly wouldn't want to put too much money into it. You don't want to spend $3 million on something you could get knocked and have a warehouse full of whatever it is. But there are other sellers. It might be a good opportunity on some type of limited risk basis.
Yeah. So I think his idea was just to get sort of a few hundred of these products, just to make a quick win and just to learn the process, basically. And by the time anything come down on him, it had already sold his 200.
Right, but there's also good and bad. I think it's great to get into something short term so you can learn the process, learn how to use the dashboard, right? Really get your feet wet. On the other hand, there's something to be said by not getting into something that might be a problem, because if you're a newer seller and have a significant problem, you can get banned or suspended right away. Everything is just, I think, a very individual business decision as to how you want to start and how you want to proceed. I see nothing wrong with it, but you just got to make sure you're making an educated decision, that you recognize the risks. Now, if you've already bought 3 or 4 or 500 pieces, I don't want to see you go out of business on something other people are selling, so go for it, but just make a good decision or an educated decision.
Hey, I'm back here, by the way. I've had to transfer to a cell phone, but I mean, that's what happens when you're in Asia. That's one of the the drawbacks of being in Asia, that your internet may just jump out on you anytime, but everybody uses cell phones that have tons of data on them. So here I am. So before I left, I got a lot of what we just talked about, but you were talking about, Paul had asked you about insurance, and you had talked about insurance. And one of the things that I recommend people do, and again, this is why this conversation was great today, because I give people a bunch of advice, and then, afterwards I say that thing where, like, I'm not an attorney or, an accountant, but so I tell people to there, because when I was in business and I owned a brick and mortar, we have something called basic. What I did was, because easy high. And I'm talking really about new sellers, is that I suggest that they go to their insurance agent that does business insurance for mine, and say, listen, I've started my own small home business. I got some products come in. I might sell some to my neighbors or whatever, but that's what I'm doing. And what a basic business owner's policy is typically going to give you, it's going to give you some products. So I'll cover that. And it typically covers some liability in your life. So what do you think about that? If I've got something in liability, I'm not a manufacturer, I am just buying a product. And what's the difference between me selling something on Amazon, in addition to selling it out of my garage or selling it on my website? It's still my property. I'm still selling it. So if I have a basic business owner's policy, which I can get for a couple $100 based upon my sales or whatever it might be, how do you think? Well, I guess my question would be, does that make more sense than to do nothing, or does it not protect me at all?
No, I guess you have to look at the policy. If you can get a policy that will cover it, and it does not exclude online sales, or particularly Amazon, then I think it's great. Insurance covers really 2 things, okay? And those things are very, very important. One thing is that if someone gets hurt by your product, the insurance company steps up and they pay the bill. Now, just as significant, or sometimes more significant, is that the insurance policy provides a legal defense, okay? So if you get sued over that product and you have an insurance policy, you call the insurance company, say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry to tell you, but I just heard about someone getting hurt, in Oklahoma, right? Or California or China or Thailand. The insurance company has to pay the lawyers to defend you. They actually provide a lawyer for you. And that can save you, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you can get the policy and it's not going to exclude online sales or Amazon, then it's great, absolutely great, because you're buying yourself a defense in case something bad happens. And that's very, very valuable. You're not going to get stuck with attorney's fees.
Well, again, Paul's got to think, man, that guy's a genius over there. Because what I tell them, I explain to people that all insurance is prepaid legal services. That's what it is. Because, and I mean, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is someone's going to show up for you. And the bottom line is, I don't even care if, and even in the case of having no insurance, let's assume, I tell people that I would much rather have an insurance policy over having an LLC in the long run, because every time I've ever had a company, 100% of the time I was named as a defendant personally, and every one of them were a company, but I got named personally. And what I tell people is, well, you may not be found liable in that problem, but just to get off of the suit is going to take you money, and you're going to have to hire an attorney if you don't have. So let's assume you sue my corporation or whatever, but then they go, well, Rob, you're the guy. We're still putting you on there. Even if they put you on there by just sheer mistake, you're still on the suit.
which means you have to get off of the suit. You have to have somebody show up and represent you and say, well, look, Mr. Judge, this is clearly a corporation. Mr. Fortney wasn't even involved in this or whatever. But guess what? That takes an attorney. And if you don't have insurance, all the corporations you want, someone's still got to show up in there and represent you as a person and that company, because they're separate entities. And so if you don't have insurance, so the first thing I tell people to do, CJ, is to go out and get this basic business owners policy. And the other thing is make sure that it doesn't exclude online. But do not call your insurance guy and say, well, I'm distributing products all over the world and I'm a No, I'm starting a small business. I've got some products. I'm going to sell them out of my garage. I'm going to sell some on Amazon. But to have that insurance, to me, is probably one of the greatest assets you can have, because every time I got sued, guess what? I had an attorney show up. I just called them. Oh, guess what? They just served me today. Go in and take care of it. And I didn't have to do anything. And, and some of them, and then when these policies, if you have a corporation and you do that, they'll also name you as an additional insured personally, so that then they're going to represent you themselves and the company, and to be able to get you. I mean, they got me off of suits where they went in and told the judge, hey, listen, is there? But then the other thing I tell people is you may not even done anything, but if the judge even there's 1 ounce of thought process that you may have any negligence in this, and it's 1%, he'll just leave you on there for giggles till the end just to see it. And so the most important thing for me is if you're trying to plan your business, and I tell people is, hey, if you're going to form a corporation, you don't want to do that right now. Get insurance first. And then if you want to start an LLC or you want to start a corporation, add that if you're trying to watch out for money. But, that tends to be, what do you think about that as just a theory?
I agree with it 100%. A couple of things you touched upon. Insurance companies have 2 obligations. One is to defend you. The other is to indemnify you. Indemnify means to pay the bill to the person who got hurt. The defend cost is that lawyer showing up on the insurance company's dime, okay? And also that you're thinking about what you're going to tell the insurance company right away. I would never, ever advise somebody to be untruthful. But the truth of the matter is that once you have that coverage, okay, the obligation to defend you, the obligation to provide a lawyer for you is much broader than the obligation to indemnify you, right? So they would have to provide you with the defense. If an insurance company, at least under New York law, which mimics Delaware, which mimics California, which mimics Florida, and on it goes, is that the insurance company has to defend you first, okay? And if the insurance company thinks that you really pulled one over on them, they have to bring an entirely separate lawsuit to try and convince a judge that they shouldn't have to defend you. And judges don't want to let lawyers go because they don't want to deal with you directly, right? Who would the judge rather deal with? The person who's getting sued, who has all sorts of emotions and no skills or training in a courtroom, or the lawyer? So most judges are going to say, hey, you know what, lawyer? You're stuck in this case. You're going to represent him, and we'll discuss that, a year or 2 down the road, whether to cut you loose or not. But for now, you're going to defend this guy and his company. So I agree with what you're saying, 120%.
You make me feel like a genius today. I appreciate that. So yeah, and again, all of those things just come from being experienced and being sued a lot. So I think I'm up to 15 now. By the way, CJ, I was in the restaurant and nightclub business for 20 years. So
Oh yeah, you're a prime target. You were a prime target. I gotta say, my first 15 years of practice, where I spent a lot of time in courtrooms, helps with everything. Because if you know the end game, it helps you prepare for it at the beginning. If you're a lawyer and you've never had to deal with a decision by a judge or a jury verdict or depositions or a trial, I've been involved in hundreds of trials. I love trying cases, but if you don't know the end game, you don't know jack about how to prevent it.
Good point. CJ, we've been on for about an hour and a half now, so I know you very valuable time, and we really appreciate sort of you taking some time out to talk to us. Is there any advice that you can give not only just a newbie, but those people that are actually well established, but not necessarily complacent in what they're doing, but maybe just focused on building the business, building business, building business?
Sure, I would say it's just business. It's all about making money. Stay focused on what you're good at and what you love doing. If you're great at picking products and sources, then keep doing that. I won't worry too much about the legal ramifications. You want to have someone to call and bounce things off that's not going to, bill for every minute and that sort of stuff. But I think the goal of a seller is to sell. Okay, use the tools Amazon provides. Use the skills that you haven't developed. Your connections in China are invaluable. 20 years experience there is invaluable. Focus on what you're good at and then get advice on what you're not sure about. You mentioned the billable hour. We don't do that for the most part, but keep doing what you're doing and just feel like you're empowered and you have someone to stand with you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's a tremendous opportunity. You look back in history, Christopher Columbus, he needed the crown to give him the money to go on his explorations, right? These days, if you're in business, you're fine. If you're a newbie, you got a cell phone and a credit card, you can get started. The most tremendous opportunities in the history of commerce are in front of you. I think you should really seize it and then grow with it. And you can work from anywhere on the planet, and you can have a lot of fun, and you can make a boatload of money. So keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I can introduce you.
Hallelujah.
I can introduce you to a large group of people who can attest that you can do this from anywhere in the world, and you can invest, much smaller amounts of money to be able to start this business.
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity. It's just great with all the flaws and the problems in the system. It's got to be the most tremendous opportunity to jump into retail ever.
Well, it's exactly what I talked about earlier, which is it's returning the local shop basically to the guy who's the common guy. And it's that opportunity. And it goes from that guy, it goes from the guy that can go start. One of my other friends, Dan here, he started out with $2,000 a year ago. He made $2,000 a month, and he made $24,000 and sold his business for $60,000. Now forget the sale. Let's just talk about the fact that you took $2,000, you turned it into $24,000 in a year. That's just unheard of in any place in the world. You can only do illegal activities to make that happen anyplace else. So
I got two different clients who are in high school who are killing it. I can only talk to them after 4 o'clock their time, but I got one high school kid who's clearing like $5,000 a week in high school.
Wow.
It's tremendous, great opportunity. Work from anywhere on the planet, no suits and ties. Huge opportunity. Recommend it to anybody and everybody, because everyone is a consumer, which means everybody can be a seller.
Tell us how, okay, let's assume everyone's listened. They went through this. Tell us, well, hey, I need CJ. I need him to help me with something. How should they contact you? What's the ways to get a hold of you, and how would that process work?
Okay. Unlike just about everybody else who helps, they call themselves Amazon consultants. Some of them are good and some of them are not so great. Most of them charge to speak with you. We speak with just about everyone who either calls or emails, an initial consultation for free, because I don't believe in charging you money unless I think I can help you. So you can reach us on our toll-free number, which is 877, the number 9, and then sellers, or our website, AmazonSellersLawyer.com. Sellers is plural, lawyer is singular. AmazonSellersLawyer.com. My email address is cj@AmazonSellersLawyer.com. Just the letter C, the letter J. And I'm almost always back to everybody within 24 hours. The last couple of weeks with the holiday purge has been a bit slower. But you reach out to me, you will get a call back from me. If you're somewhere outside the United States, send me your Skype, send me your WeChat, send me your WhatsApp, and we will connect and talk, and I'll let you know whether I think I can help you or not.
Wow, that's pretty much awesome. That's
fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Not bad being the second best looking bald guy on the show.
Wow, steady. But I'll take it. Yeah, not many people say that, I must admit. It's That's good. Now, I really, really appreciate your time, CJ. And
No,
yeah,
thanks.
absolutely brilliant.
Thanks for listening to this Amazon Gorillas workshop. I hope you learned enough to make this time you spent worthwhile. Please visit our website at 123amazon.net for a ton of more free training materials. We release new training weekly, so subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Any links you need are in the description below that we talked about in this video. There may be a link right here on the screen. If you're interested in joining the Gorillas group I spoke about at the beginning of this video, please click below and we can talk personally about your business. If you give me just one more minute, I want to share some really cool information that could help your business dramatically. The Amazon Gorillas are hosting a free webinar, How to Find a Product to Sell on Amazon's FBA Partnering Program that allows virtually anyone to sell their products to their 250 million customers. We're going to teach you 30 specific attributes of winning products, and we'll share the Amazon Gorillas 7-step success strategy. This webinar will give you the confidence to start your own online Amazon business. If you're confused or overwhelmed by the Amazon information jungle, this webinar is for you. We're going to help you take the fear you have about picking a product away. You'll learn the 30 specific attributes that great products have in common. And you'll find out what products to avoid and what products have too much competition or too little competition. We're going to show you how to find weak competitors and great opportunity. Just for coming to the webinar, we're going to give you a free copy of our Super Product Selector. It's a product evaluation tool that will become invaluable and help you finally start your online Amazon business. Click the link below and register for this informative and possibly life-changing webinar. You can start a successful online Amazon business with the help of this free webinar. Take action and change your financial future.
Product research software specifically for Amazon and Amazon sellers. So I found the biggest roadblock I had in scaling my Amazon business was the product research phase. It's so critical. If you find a good product, it's almost like a shoe-in. It's all downhill from there. Very easy to be successful. If you get a really tough product, then it is really hard to make it successful. So, you know, what I found was, I was like, okay, I just need to be able to find more good products. And that's kind of how Jungle Scout was born. Jungle Scout was born as an automatic way to collect all this data and neatly organize it so you can quickly and easily make educated product research and purchasing decisions. Yeah, I'm just right here on Amazon. I made a search for marshmallow sticks. I chose that because this is one of my products right here, aptly named Jungle Sticks. So what you do is you can make a search anywhere on Amazon or any of the seller pages or just about anywhere you see products. And Jungle Scout extensions, an add-on to Chrome browser. So, you know, I'm inside Google Chrome right now. After I've installed it, I have this little JS up here and I can click it and it will gather all the data from this page that is relevant for product research type decisions. So I'm going to zoom in actually so you guys can see it a little better. So what we're looking at here, you know, this is the product name, the price, the rank. This is a really important column, the estimated sales. We also have the number of reviews. This is the net after the FBA fees, so how much money is left over after Amazon takes their cut. And these are a lot of the very important key metrics to look for when doing product research or when selling a product. So what I look for is in the estimated sales, I like to see a total of 3,000 units being sold every month across the niche. So the next thing I go and look at is the number of reviews. And this is the easiest way, I think, to gauge the amount of competition. So if it met the demand criteria, met the review criteria, the next thing I'd start looking at is the price, the Amazon fees to see how much is left over for net and so forth. As far as price goes, I actually try not to sell anything for less than $20. So yeah, those are some of the criteria that I look for. So again, you know, there's a lot of different strategies like that work, you know, like you could try to go for a single home run. You could try to go for multiple products that don't sell quite as much. Me personally, I'd probably say I go for something in between there. I like to sell at least like 300 units per month for all my products is what I shoot for. And then, you know, I like to have multiple products so that if one starts to get really competitive, or if you're out of stock of one, kind of all your eggs are in that basket.
Hey, click below for more information about Jungle Scout and your 30-day money-back guaranteed trial of Jungle Scout.